everybody. I should also say to some places in the world, good morning, because I just understood that we are online now, on the live stream, so that's very cool, because I'm assuming that my mother and father are probably watching me now in Israel, even though it's 2:30 a.m., and my mother is probably now looking at me, saying, oh, he didn't iron his shirt, and he didn't comb his hair. So I thought I could run away from it, but you cannot run away from a Jewish mother, as you all know. So, I came here to share with you my journey as a cellist, as a human being, as a Jewish person growing up in a kibbutz in Israel, and becoming a cellist that traveled around the world and sharing music with so many people. So I was born in kibbutz Israel, in the north part of Israel, in the Israel Valley, Israel with a Z, next to Nazareth, next to Afula, as far as you can imagine from classical music. I used to walk outside barefoot, run, play with animals, play basketball a lot. And when I was 10 years old, I was asked by our music teacher to pick an instrument. And I picked up the cello. I picked up the cello because of a girl who played cello. And she was 4 years older than me, and I was a little shy talking to her, so I decided, you know what, I'll just play the cello and I'll get stuck with her in the same bus, in the same lesson. I had everything planned out, and I thought, well, eventually we'll get married. But nothing of it happened, besides the fact that I'm stuck with the cello. Other than that, I remember fondly this song. I don't know how many of you know that song, Eli Eli, Oh God, Oh God. This is a song that we all know in Israel, and I grew up listening to my mother singing this song and hearing her voice. This is before I even knew what the cello is. In that environment of playing basketball, mainly being outside and doing sport, I got this piece of wood, not this one, I wish, a different one, and I started playing, and I fell in love with it. I fell in love with the cello because of a small tape cassette that my parents got me. And on that tape cassette were short pieces played by Pablo Casals. I didn't know who Pablo Casals was, but I only I remember that every evening before going to sleep, I had one of those boombox tapes. I used to listen to his playing, and I just fell in love with the sound of the cello. Of course, I didn't know that many years later, I will be holding right in front of you the same cello that he played on that tape cassette, which is the cello that I have right now. But I remember the piece that was a highlight of that tape cassette was the Kol Nidrei. It was a piece that Pablo Casals, being Catalan, loved to play and recorded, and that was one of the pieces on that tape cassette, and I used to listen to that piece over and over and over, and I kept bothering my teacher to give me the chance to play it. Of course, I couldn't play it in the first years, it was too difficult. But I knew the melody from Yom Kippur, from the prayer, and I thought I should just take the cello and play it. And that was, for me, the first connection between who I am as a Jewish person and the voice that will become my voice, and the voice that I will be speaking and singing to so many people around the world. So I thought that after the song Eli Eli, which brought me maybe close to music in general, I would share with you the Kol Nidrei, which was one of the first big pieces that I played struggled to play as a cellist, and fell in love with. And through that piece, I really, instead of being in love with a girl, I started being in love with the cello. teenager, realizing the power that I had in my fingers. I realized that when many kids in my age who learned to play the cello had to struggle with playing the right notes, I always thought about a story. I always wanted to share a story with the public, and when it came to Jewish music, and the first experience was playing Kol Nidrei, I could, through my fingers, express emotions and share a story with the public. When I started this piece, since day one, I remember being maybe 12 years old or 11, playing it, I could imagine and envision a cantor with a talit on their head, facing the Torah and singing. At the beginning of this prayer, Kol Nidrei, I took my fingers and just tried to imitate it. As I'm building the story, I can see the synagogue because we learned about it in school. Even though I was not religious, I am not religious. We learned about it in school. Israel, of course, is full of synagogues. And one day a year we did go in Yom Kippur to the synagogue. And you could see it, you could feel it. You could see the women, the men, the cantor, the rabbi, and that famous prayer. And for me, that moment, after 2 times that the cantor sang the prayer, came the women from up there and replied. Then the men. And of course, as we know, the prayer in Yom Kippur is the little man, which is us, asking for forgiveness. So for the first time in this prayer, I remember as a child, when is the moment that you are standing there in the trial in front of God and really cry for the first time, understanding that you might end up in hell, understanding that this is serious? Where's the first moment that you have to shout to God, please, please don't put me in hell? And then comes the theme, the prayer again, but now it's much more emotional. And listen to the congregation. Now they feel for the first time, we don't have to just hum and just acknowledge the poor little man that is about to go to either hell or heaven. We really need to support him. Fantasy world and imagination, but living in Israel and having this around me, then came a moment that scared me for the first time in music. The feeling of being scared, and I'm talking about a very early age where, again, my colleagues in the little youth orchestra are really struggling with, should I be a cellist? Should I do that? Should I practice every day? And I have this whole world in my head, in my soul, and I'm enjoying and falling in love with what is becoming my voice. And that moment came right now in this piece, this very significant piece in my life. And it's a moment that for me was the angels coming down to earth to take my soul. And of course, I'm really, really scared. Really scared. So that's what I have to say. I thought this would be enough. God will leave me alone and I can just go to heaven. I did well, but no. It was even louder. And then what Bruch does, he writes the same pleading but higher on the cello. And instead of a whole step interval, he uses a third. And then God says, okay, you know what? You really want to prove that what you did badly during the year is not enough for me to throw you to hell? Okay, please proceed and tell me the story. What have you done this year, and why should I not send you to hell? And then comes a moment where the little man understands that this is it, and he's trying to prove that he is rightfully should go to heaven. Now, he's facing the fire. He looks down through a cliff. This is all in my imagination, of course. And he sees the fire of hell. Listen to the fire. So, God is not yet convinced that he should go to heaven. And for the last time in this piece, this little man now is going to sing the prayer, the Kol Nidrei prayer. At the beginning it was a cantor, as we all know, when we go to Yom Kippur, to the synagogue. We usually, in America, you hire a beautiful singer, cantor, and they come and they sing the Kol Nidrei. But this time, when the fire is underneath and it's not the congregation, now it's a little man really begging. And listen what happens at the end of this short prayer. Somewhere. I'm not dead yet. Obviously, I'm still alive. Where am I going? Listen to what happens. When I land on the last note, there will be 3 chords in the piano. And here we are. We convince God and we go into heaven. And you see all those beautiful women and good food, and everything is beautiful. And this is such a special moment for a child to realize that with this piece of wood, I can tell this story, at least to myself, and to see that some people can even cry when you tell that story. It's an amazing feeling. And that's what really grabbed me and made me decide that this is going to be my lifelong love, to play the cello. a composer that will be somehow Jewish associated, but will be a little bit more fun and not so depressive to finish this evening. So I Googled some wonderful composers who were also cellists, and apparently Popper, who was one of the greatest cellists of all time, his grandfather was a cantor. So that's good enough for me. And we're going to end this program with a fun tarantella, which is a dance.